Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about chapter 5th of history for grade 6 student. The title of the chapter is What Books and Burials Tells Us. Let's take an introduction with the chapter. Dear students, the oldest books in the world is known as Vedas. All over the world, they were written about 3000 years ago and are the earliest literary source available till date. The word Veda means known, knowledgeable, knowledge. There are 4 Vedas. They are as follows. First, the Vedas are first the Rig Veda, the second the Sham Veda, third the Yajur Veda, and the fourth the Atharva Veda. The Rig Veda is the oldest Veda. It is composed about 3500 years ago, and the hymns in shlokas have been composed and compared by sages. Sage means saint or people, those were well-wisher of the society. These hymns were recited and passed from generation to another generation, one generation to another generation, until they were written down. These hymns were in praise of different god and goddesses such as Indra, the god of warrior, Agni, the god of fire, Varuna, the god of sky, and the Shom, a plant from which special drink were prepared, and many more. Most of the hymns, shlokas, were well said and composed by men, says that we are used to speak rishis and sant. Prayers, thoughts, these were taught to the students to recite and memorize each syllable, word, and sentences. This is, tributaries with great code of, heart. A few were composed by women. The Rig Veda is in the oldest Vedic, is written in old Vedic and Sanskrit languages, which is different from the Sanskrit we have already learned in our last classes. And nowadays, now the topic contains about the second important topic about this, how these craft persons have prepared. Topic: a historian studies the Rig Veda and how these Rig Vedas were helpful in present time. Like see, kettles, horses, and chariots. These things were also the part of that. Words describe the people. What is? There were several ways of describing people in terms of work they do, the language they speak, place they belong to, their family, their communities, and cultural practices. Let us see some of the words used to describe people found in Rig Veda. There are 2 groups who are described in terms of their work: the priests, sometimes called Brahmins, who performed various rituals, and the Rajas. These Rajas were not like the ones you will be learning about later. They did not have capital cities, places, or armies, nor did they collect taxes. Generally, son did not automatically succeed fathers as Raja. So in previous section we have already read about what type of activities they have. Now how historian studies about the Rig Vedas. While study about the past, historian examined written sources. They studied the Rig Veda. Most of the hymns of Rig Veda were in form of dialogues. Historian studies these dialogues to arrive at conclusion. What are the conclusion they found? If question comes, what does Rig Veda tell us about prayers and this is battles? Most of prayers in the Rig Vedas for cattle, children and horses. Horses were yoked to chariots and used in battlefields. Now this then the battles aimed to capture cattle, lands, and pasture, water, and people. Later, a portion of the wealth was for the use of performing yajna, that we used to speak nowadays yagya, and sacrifices, in the which offerings were put into fire for God, includes ghee, grains, and rare animals too. Now let's take some questions from the part what we read already about from the portion. Question is, why chariots were imported? Then the second, what were the made of transport that mentioned? We already read about chariots, horses, and some different type of elephants and animals were used to take as a transportation for one place to another place, transport one to another place. If question comes, with the help of taught learning parts, write the name of 5 rivers that are mentioned in the Rig Veda. Mostly we have already read the names of the rivers are the hints for Vyas, Satluj, Ganga, Saraswati, and some other rivers you can mention it in the contents. Now, words to describe people. For how to describe the people, we have already read. Means there were several ways to describing people: terms of work they do, the language they speak, the places they live or belonging to their family, their communities, and cultural practices. Let us see their political life. Now, another topic comes about political life. What were the political life and how they have been performed their establishment of their kingdoms and polities for the administration. So we'll take some discussion about the occupation first. What was the Vedas even tell us about political life? The sages, the head of the state was called as Raja. The Raja had no capital, places, armies, or right to collect taxes. Occupation, what type of work they had to survive there for their survival. So occupation, agriculture, cattle rearing, chariot making, pottery making, jewelry making, taming, and metal work were the main occupations. Then dasas and dasis, what these terms stands for. While Aryans composed Vedas, another group of people opposed to Veda, they were called as dasas and dasis, or in other word we can say the layman word for that is slaves. One question comes, what do you mean by silent sentinels, or what do you mean by the megaliths? That stone builders are known as the megaliths. Stones were carefully arranged by the people and were used to mark burial site. The practice of erecting megaliths began about 3000 years